Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Fantasy Sports Podcast. We are going to continue with our fantasy player profiles. Those were only 2 QBs of the day. Now we get to focus on some more skill position talent. And this guy in particular, especially for my East Coast people, is a very intriguing option. On one side of the East Coast, a lot of people will be happy with this segment and how I view this particular running back. And for the other half, I'm not quite too sure. Without further ado, I think you know who it is. If you're on the East Coast, let's jump into the fantasy player profile of Saquon Barkley. Now, as you can see on my screen, I would have put it blue if he was still a New York Giant, but my caption right there is green to resemble the switch from one side of the NFC East to the other. Yes, Saquon Barkley is a Philadelphia Eagle, and with that comes, shall we say, great expectations for him. I think this is a system that already had a comfortable running back set, and they have a quarterback who technically steals away a lot of running back production, especially in the red zone, in Jalen Hurts. And so this is definitely going to be one of those segments where I want to sing Saquon Barkley's praises because I still think he's an excellent quarterback who can give you that level of production you need in your fantasy team. But on the other hand, the Philadelphia Eagles in many ways are a much weirder fit than you might think. And so without further ado, let me jump right into that. But first, let's look at his fantasy stats. Throughout his career, Saquon Barkley has accrued 1,013.1 fantasy points. His best season, unlike all the other people who I'm going to mention in this show, was his rookie year, 2018, as a New York Giant, of course, with 294.8 points. Fantastic production for a rookie running back. But, as we see, those numbers have kind of declined. Injuries, and also inconsistency in the Giants' offense. So what does he do? He says, I'm getting out of this putrid situation, and I am going to go to the Philadelphia Eagles, my team's one rival, and kind of make them PO'd about it. Last year, though, on the Giants, as you can see, because of the inconsistencies of their offense, he shared at least 70% of the snaps in 11 out of the 14 games he did play. He was second in opportunity share, 12th in explosive run rate. He had 288 touches, which was the 8th most amongst running backs. Sorry there. He's projected to go for 1,118 yards and 10 touchdowns, 373 receiving yards. He is an asset out of the backfield, so we'll have to see how he does in Philadelphia. 4 TDs for him for a total of 236.8 fantasy points. Now, let's talk about the switch to the Philadelphia Eagles system and how he fits in. Philly, last year, realized that they kind of needed a running back to counteract what Jalen Hurts did. It definitely didn't necessarily work to his benefit all the time, but to this particular running back's benefit, it did work out. And so, DeAndre Swift being there definitely complicates things for Saquon Barkley, especially as a fantasy running back. DeAndre Swift last year, as we all know, set career highs in every single facet of the running back stats. And so, Saquon Barkley now comes in, and you definitely have 2 running backs with very, in my humble opinion, similar profiles, and a quarterback who also is known for his dual threat ability. Obviously, they didn't necessarily go to it all the time last year, as they saw that DeAndre Swift was a huge factor in the run game, and so they kind of got away from Jalen Hurts, but he still is someone liable to take off and run. And so, when you have 3 guys in your offense, in your quarterback and 2 running backs, who are known for their explosivity in the run game, the way they distribute the football can get muddy. Also, the Philadelphia Eagles really have a very talented skill position group, especially with their wide receiver duo in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, that will want to demand the ball. And so, The question is, where does Saquon Barkley fit in all of this? Now, that's a question I can't necessarily answer, but it certainly is one you guys must consider. If you are thinking of drafting Saquon Barkley, let's say late second, early third, maybe even late third, early fourth, you're going to have to think and consider that maybe DeAndre Swift is the better option from the Eagles. Now, I'm not saying Saquon will not live up to those projections, but I am saying that I certainly don't think the Eagles will want to make DeAndre Swift unhappy when he's at an all-time high in his career. He's in a good place. With the Lions, he obviously did not get off to the greatest start to his NFL career, and so he wanted a change of pace. He goes to Philly, has a career year. That has to stand for something, and I think the Eagles are going to respect that. Now, this move for Saquon certainly could mean that Saquon gets a lot of receiving options. He could come out of the backfield with a lot of screen action, diversify the passing attack. That's one of the positives that I see in this trade because of the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles were too focused on Jalen Hurts pushing the ball down the field, when in fact I think he's also very comfortable not only in short to intermediate areas of the field, but utilizing his backs as screen action players. And so, look for a lot of RB screens, whether it's Swift or Barkley, to kind of ease the comfort and pressure on Jalen Hurts as a quarterback. And so, I really see Saquon Barkley, if you're looking for a running back who adds receiving value, as that guy. Because, as we know, his touches will decrease as a result of being in a two running back room. However, like I said, the Eagles don't necessarily want to be that team that wants to continue pushing the ball on the field. Because in order for Jalen Hurts to keep developing, he has to understand that, hey, passing involves a lot of different things. I don't just use my cannon of an arm to get the ball out of my field and make A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith happy. I use my arm to utilize all the players in my offense. I can't ignore one guy over another. I can't ignore one facet of my game over the other. And so, I really think this whole Philadelphia Eagles operation and offense is contingent on what relationship Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley build. Because, let's say, DeAndre Swift does get the bulk of the touches at the running back position running the football. If Jalen Hurts doesn't rely on Saquon Barkley in the receiving game, this Philadelphia Eagles offense falls flat because there's no variety to it. Now let's say Saquon Barkley somehow gets the bulk of touches. Does Jalen Swift and DeAndre Swift's relationship get sullied? Or does it positively impact the Eagles as a whole as a run team, because you have two players, two running backs especially, who can wear down opposing defenders in many different ways? I think that when you look at a guy like DeAndre Swift, it's his cutting ability, it's his elusiveness, and when you look at Saquon Barkley, it's just sheer power at the point of attack. And so Nick Sirianni is also going to have to figure into this, because he's going to want to figure out what works for him, what style of running works for him. If you want to open it up, if you want to have more variety to your attack, I think Saquon Barkley in this offense fits as an option in the pass game. However, if you want a player who can get you that one shot from the running game to the end zone, it's DeAndre Swift. And so, the whole conversation surrounding Saquon Barkley's success is contingent on what the Philadelphia Eagles want and what they did with this trade. Were they getting Saquon Barkley as a piece to help Jalen Hurts in the passing game because he kind of stagnated throwing the ball deep to his guys? Or was this a move that varies the running game, where you already have a guy in DeAndre Swift who offers you the elusiveness factor, but you want a guy who's powerful? Touches will also be in question as well, who gets the majority of them and why. But I really believe that the Philadelphia Eagles have to look inward on this and say, what can we use Saquon Barkley for that gets the most effect out of him? Because ultimately that's what you guys are looking for. The positive effects that are reaped from Saquon Barkley's performance on the field. Right now, I can't necessarily value that at any given moment, so we're going to have to take this one as it goes. But that should just about do it for my fantasy player profile of Saquon Barkley. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're a New York Giants fan, I definitely know you didn't, but it is what it is, and we go on. Coming up next, we have another fantastic running back who I'm really looking at to really ascend up the ranks in terms of the running back position in fantasy. You are definitely not going to want to miss this one. We'll be right back to discuss him.